Well, welcome back to A Minute with Mom TV. I am your host, Tamara Johnson, and I have a special guest in the studio with me today, and that's my baby, Niquole. Say hi, Niquole.
Hi.
So I brought Niquole here with me today because we want to talk about keeping inventory of the heart. And you had a very interesting kind of time with the Lord this week, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And so why don't you well, before we go into that, no, we got some housekeeping to do, okay? So first thing I need you to do, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Click it. I'll wait. Go ahead, click it. You know you want to. Click that subscribe button because you want to keep in contact with me because I'm going to be uploading here more frequently. I know I say that all the time, but for real though, I am going to look, life be lifing. And if your life been lifing like my life been lifing, you already know. So hit that subscribe button for me so that you will know when I upload my next video. Also, make sure you click the notification bell, whatever color it is, because I heard that it changed colors. I don't know. Just click the little bell. Also, if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at aminutewithmom@gmail.com, aminutewithmom@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, and here is my Instagram handle. It is _a_minute_with_mom, _a_minute_with_mom. I'll try to put it somewhere in this area, okay? Go ahead and do that so that you can keep in contact with me because I like to hear from you and I do like to talk to the peeps, okay? Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I do, okay? Anyway, now that we have the housekeeping done and taken care of, we're talking about keeping inventory of your heart. And what we're really talking about, like a subtopic of that would be, we're talking about friendships. We're talking about the ebbs and flows of friendship and how sometimes things happen in friendships and you're no longer friends. And sometimes that leaves a little bit of residue behind in our hearts and in our lives. And what do you do with that when everything was going great and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out, which is kind of what you experience. And no, we're not going into the tea because it's not that kind of channel. So if you came here for some gossip or some tea, no. We're encouraging, empowering, and uplifting over here, right?
Yes.
So we want to give you some tools as to how you can kind of manage your expectations in friendships and what to do when you have a little bit of friendship residue from a friendship that has soured and how you kind of navigate and handle that. So do you want to tell without telling? Because we're not going to say any names or anything, but can you just give like a brief synopsis of how the friendship kind of fell apart?
Okay.
Without giving too many details.
Okay.
Because we don't need all of that.
Okay. So I had a friend. It was great. It was very short-lived. And then it just fell apart. I was sad. I didn't know why it fell apart, but it just...
Yes, you do.
I mean...
You know why it fell apart.
Mom,
She ain't telling the story right.
do you want to tell the story?
Well, she ain't singing it. Okay, because it's all kinds of cuckoo crazy over here. If you were expecting us to be all dressed up and polished, that is not what happens over here, okay? It's for kicks and giggles, but it's serious though. But we don't take ourselves seriously, so just bear with us. What really happened though was friend, we'll call this person friend. Friend lost their mind and accused you of doing something that you did not do.
Yes.
And then ghosted you.
Yes.
And then that's when it kind of just fell apart because as much as you tried to get it back on track, they were not willing to communicate. And sometimes that happens in relationship where something has happened, you want to talk it through, you want to address it, but maybe the other person is unwilling to talk about it, or they want to continue to frame you in the narrative that they prefer as opposed to actually chop it up and, get down to the nitty gritty, which requires accountability on both parts. And I think that friend was not really interested in the accountability part. So therefore she avoided the uncomfortable conversation. So where did that leave you?
I was hurt and I was mad. I was very upset.
Like I want to punch your
I want to
face.
punch your face.
Shoot, and I wanted to punch some throats too. Like, I mean, I go hard for mine, but I have to let you fight your own battles and deal with your own boo-boos because you're 20.
Yes.
So I can't kiss all of your boo-boos like when you were little, right?
No.
So you have to learn how to manage that yourself. So you have this injury from the friend and you're kind of reeling from it. And I know that we talked about, you know, I'm trying to help you process like what went wrong, what did I do? Because you felt responsible even though you were not, but because she didn't have that conversation with you, it kind of left you feeling what?
Very just in the dumps and confused, very confused.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how did that affect you, like moving forward? Because it ended, but you didn't necessarily have closure, right?
Yes. And because of that, I wanted no parts of having new friends.
So what did that look like for you?
Very closed off. I stopped talking to the people I would usually talk to on a regular day basis. I put myself into school a lot, and work.
Right.
Yeah.
So your MO was to stay booked
Clamshell.
and busy, clamshell,
Yes.
booked and busy. And sometimes we do that in life. Sometimes when we experience that type of upset in our life or disturbance in our life, we tend to throw ourselves into anything else to just kind of take our minds off of it. But because I'm watching you from the outside in, but you're experiencing it from the inside out. So while I'm watching you, homegirl every 5 seconds was like, I'm busy. I am so busy. I stay booked and busy. And I was like, wait a minute now. I know your life. You ain't that busy. So, because like people were inviting you out and you would be like, I'm busy. I got homework to do. I got to go to work. I mean, you were like, if there was a flashing sign over her head, it would have said unavailable. Right? So that was kind of like your hideout. Like you seriously went to the no new friends, I'm booked and busy, unavailable, but you were miserable inside. And I kept calling you on it and saying, girl, are we going to talk about the elephant in the room? So how did you get to the point where you were ready to admit? Because that's the first step whenever you're kind of going through any type of situation where you don't want to acknowledge that there is a problem. The first step is to acknowledge that there is a problem.
I didn't want to, but it just had to happen.
Right.
And I felt better.
You felt better.
Yes.
So what was it that you were not, because you were kind of dreading even just having a conversation with me about it, but what internally were you feeling like? Can you give us like an indication of why were you so I don't want to talk about it?
Oh, I just didn't want to face the reality
of
not having a friend.
Right. So you were in a sense grieving the friendship. And this is the thing about human hearts, right? Because you hadn't known this person very long, but this person was very winsome and very like energetic and easy to love. So sometimes we find ourselves getting caught up in friendships, relationships, or whatever, where it kind of goes hot and fast and then it fizzles out, kind of like a shooting star type of thing. And then when that happens and it ends the way that it did, because it was rather abruptly, you're like mystified. You're like, what in the heck? What did I do? What did I say? And again, they're not communicating to give you those answers. So then you're like taking a fill in the blank test that you didn't know was happening.
Didn't study for it.
Did not study for it. You ain't even know. So that's how it affected you. So in your time, because after you and I talked about it. Like I didn't hem you up about it, but I did have to like lovingly push you over the edge of acknowledgement.
Yes.
And so once that happened, what was your process like? And what did God reveal to you as you were kind of thugging that out?
Well, it was a lot of listening and not paying attention to the hurt, but figuring out how to give the hurt to God. Yeah, so the first thing that he told me was the heart is our center. And the heart can do a lot of things. Like if you know the heart is complicated.
Right.
Right? So you have your anatomy side of the heart with its blood and its vessels and the chambers and whatnot. But the human side of the heart, you love, you judge. I mean, you hold stuff.
Right.
So the two main things that I was holding was love and judge.
So in regard to this person?
Yes.
Okay, so you loved her as a friend. Well, now we know that she's a she. But your friend.
Yes.
Not that kind of friend, folks, okay? You loved her as your friend, but you were also judging her, it sounds like? Or what was the judgment
judging
part?
the circumstance.
Judging the circumstances. So what about the circumstances were you judging? Like just trying to figure out what went wrong?
Yes, and how the other person handled it.
Right. Because like I said, can't stress this enough, which is the whole, I think, bane and the painful part of this type of experience is when there are no answers given, and then what's given is absolutely untrue. So not only do you have to deal with an untruth, you have to now also figure out, well, I know it's not that, so what else could it be? And then that can lead you down a rabbit hole of, like I said, filling in the blanks with all the wrong things. And sometimes there just is not an answer. And we have a feeling and an idea that we know, but we don't know for sure. So I'm not even going to speak on that. But
and sometimes we don't need the answer.
And sometimes, girl, can I get an amen? Can I get? Okay, see, because out of the mouth of babes, come closer, okay? Come closer. Sometimes you don't need the answer. Sometimes you just need to know a thing is done and get up from the table and go, okay? Like why are we still sitting at tables where there's nobody there? They have walked away and we're still waiting for the check, the explanation. Like, it's done, it's a wrap. Like, just, if it's done, it's done. And you're going to have to go. And sometimes not everything ends neatly and tidy as we would like it to. Sometimes things end open-ended. And you just have to accept that that's the way that it is. And like she said, sometimes you don't need to know the answer. You just need to know that a thing is done. Now, that right there will preach to somebody. I don't know who needed to hear that, but it's over, baby. Okay? It's over. It's a wrap.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Over for a reason.
It is
over for a reason.
Once again. Okay. Because, yes. All right. So, it's over for a reason. So, the heart is the center. And it loves and it judges. And so then you kind of went into like the depths of the vessels and explained that metaphor.
So your heart has vessels. That's where your blood and, it has to flow through so that you can stay alive.
Right.
But on the more human side, your vessels are your eyes, your ears, and your mind. So you have to keep inventory of what you're looking at, what you're listening to, what's on replay in your mind.
Right.
And make sure that it's not affecting your heart.
Because it's what was happening with you in that moment is the loving and the judging. So it's like, man, I really liked this person. I enjoyed their company, and you're grieving the loss of a friend and you don't even know what went wrong with it. And then now you're placing judgments on this person because you don't have any answers.
Yes.
But the thing about that, I think, is that when you allow that to sit in the chambers of your heart, it starts to kind of permeate and go through the rest of your whole body. So like you were saying, it affects your mind. It affects the way you see things. It affects the way you hear things. So for you, The judgment too, I think, also affected your judgment in that anybody new that came after that, you were already kind of seeing them through the lens of your hurt, right? And then you wouldn't allow them, like you kept everybody at arm's length. You would not engage with them. You wouldn't allow them to get to know you, which they really wanted to. And that's the thing with when we hold on to hurt like that, we are trying to protect ourselves. It's a self-preservation thing that we do. But the fallacy and the danger in that is when you hold on to things so tightly, you're not able to receive either. So you're holding on to everything thinking that you're protecting yourself, but you don't realize you're also holding on to the resentment. You're also holding on to possibly unforgiveness. Like, how was that? Were you in a place of forgiveness in your heart with this person, or were you still like,
no,
let me see you in an alley?
Yes.
Right.
I was very much so
3
upset
o'clock.
still.
3 o'clock. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So how did it look once the Lord revealed that to you? What was your next step? So now it sounds like you had the awareness that there's an issue. There's a clog there.
Yes.
Because if you really think about the way a heart works, as you were kind of like explaining to me, if your heart is clogged, like if you eat too much fatty foods, your arteries get clogged up, and then you have to go in there and clean that out. So metaphorically speaking, when your heart is clogged with unforgiveness, when it's clogged with resentment, when it's clogged with junk, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be the same scenario as this that we're talking about. It could be literally anything. But when your heart is clogged, you need surgery.
Yes, you do. And let God do that surgery, because you can't do it by yourself.
You cannot.
You can't be a surgeon for yourself.
Right. Because how do you even know where to go? Because you only going to pick out the parts that you feel need to come out. But when I always tell you guys this, when God asks or tells you that you need surgery, you don't get to pick and choose which shrapnel he takes out of you. You don't get to tell God, oh, you can have this, but you cannot have that. That is not how it works. He wants you to lay on the table and let him trim the fat, so to speak, is what we were talking about. So he talked about cutting the fat out. And what is this exercise? Because we're looking at our notes. So I think we skipped a step.
We did, but the exercise. So, you have to exercise to keep yourself healthy on a humanly basis. Right. But for the exercise being spiritually, you need to be in your word. Yeah.
Right.
That's because it. Just read, spend time
with
God.
What does that do for you?
It will bring you closer, and he will start teaching you things that you didn't know or that you knew, but refining it. Right.
So it's more like a revelation, a revelatory type experience of getting in. I could see you getting emotional behind that, because you're so sweet, because you have such an obedient heart for God. And I know that process was not easy for you, because it sure ain't easy for me when it's my turn to lay on God's operating table. But the danger in not doing that is that in the long run, it ends up costing you.
Yes.
It ends up costing you greatly, because what actually ends up happening, just like how in your real heart, the fat will harden in your arteries, unforgiveness, trauma, unresolved issues, all of those things have a way of hardening your heart and making you so impenetrable to where you ever meet those people where they're just grouchy. They're just mean for no reason. Like the sun is shining and they are pissed because the sun is out. Like
for real Grinch.
Yes. And it's because maybe not in all cases, but if I know people like I think I do, it's because their heart is hardened in some form or fashion, that they have this hard exterior, that they just will not allow any light, any love, any sunshine, any forgiveness, anything good to come in, because life has beaten them down. So that's why we wanted to come on here and just kind of share a real life experience You guys hear me talk all the time, but I wanted you to hear it from a young person's perspective, because there may be some young viewers out there that's going through something similar to where maybe your friend group has completely fallen apart. Maybe you're in a situation of transitioning from high school to college, or you're about to graduate college and really for real enter into adulthood, and you have all these connections to people, and all of a sudden things are going left. You're dropping friends are dropping like flies, and maybe there has been some drama there, or maybe there hasn't, but you don't know why. I think this is a very poignant experience to speak on for young people, of how do you navigate that, and how do you keep inventory of your heart. So the mother in me is going to take this part of the conversation. So you got her experience, and I'm gonna bring you back in at some point.
Okay.
But so just chill right here. What I want to encourage you is, when we're talking about keeping inventory of your heart, Niquole, you mentioned watch your eye gate, watch your ear gate, watch your mouth gate, because I'll give you a perfect example. I used to love what I call ratchet TV, which is all, and listen, don't come for me in the comments, okay? Don't do that, because y'all know it's ratchet. You do, okay? All of the reality TV genres where the women are at each other's throats and rah, 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 rah. I used to watch that with popcorn and soda and be like, ooh, what's going on tonight? I still watch a couple of them that are more mild, but something that I noticed was happening in me is that the more I watched those shows, I started feeling the energy of the drama and the arguing, and it started like I would watch that and then go to bed, and then I can't sleep because I'm so amped up, I'm so turned up, I'm so like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that to her. And oh, this person is wrong for that. And then calling up my girlfriends and, can you believe what happened on the, dishing and spilling the tea and chopping it up and whatever. And then after a while, I realized, wait a minute, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. This does not make me feel at peace. It's actually disturbing my spirit. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say, watch your eye gate, watch your ear gate, watch your mouth gate, because on the surface level, it may look like entertainment and it may be juicy gossip to listen to. But when you are feasting on that over and over and over again, you got to know that that type of cantankerous arguing, it does begin to seep into you, and it starts to manifest in your daily life, in how you respond, in how you react when you're in situations like what Niquole experienced. So like, if you didn't have the Lord,
oh, we would be fighting.
Right. That
Definitely.
could have gone down a completely different way, because you were able to, you still felt the pain, but you were able to release in love and let her go on about her business.
Yes.
And, it's not to say that you didn't have any very real emotions, and your emotions are completely valid. But when you have the Lord, you're not led by your feelings. And that could have gone down a number of ways. Like you guys could have had a major argument about it. I mean, you did have a couple of words, but it wasn't cantankerous. It wasn't like drama filled. It was just kind of matter of factly. You stated your boundaries.
Yes.
You stated what, you thought was the issue. And the person was not interested in even responding to it in any way, shape, or form. And so you had no choice but to just
let it go
and move on about your business. But again, it's keeping the inventory of your heart. It's making sure that your heart and mind are clear in how you handle the situation. And I honestly don't think that you could have handled it any differently, because it takes two to tango. You can't argue by yourself. You can't have a conversation of one. And so if that is you, and you are a believer and you're walking with the Lord, and you find yourself in a situation where you don't know how to handle the dissolution or the ending of a friendship, you just have to release them in love. You have to feel the pain and not hold on to it. You have to be able to say, you know what, this hurts, and acknowledge your feelings and your hurt feelings behind it. But at the end of the day, you have to release them in love and let them go on their way. Because the thing about God that is so cool is that he can see around corners that we can't see. And so sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes perhaps the dissolving of a friendship might be God's doing. It just didn't happen the way that you were expecting it to. But God does have a way of cutting people out of your life for you, and he will cause certain circumstances to take place, or allow certain he won't cause them, but he will allow certain circumstances to take place in order to get you away from people. So don't always rush and assume that everybody that is leaving out of your life, you need to try to get them back or hold them back. Some of them people need to be gone, because some of them people don't mean you any good. Some people are only around you to see you fail. Some people, not everybody that is in your circle or on the sidelines of your life is there to cheer you on. Some people are cheering for your failure, not for your success. And so it's very important that you make sure that you are keeping inventory of your heart, but also keeping inventory of the character and the type of people that you keep around you. Sometimes you will see it right up front and you'll have to decide right then and there. But in your case, you didn't see it coming, like blindsided. Like I didn't see it coming either, because that is not the way this person presented to us initially. And then literally there was all of a sudden a drastic turn, which was quite manipulative, if you ask me. Like, that's about as much as I'll say on it. But you know, there are some people out there like that, and it's not to bash them. It just means that person is not matured yet. And so everybody matures at a different rate. So it's not a matter of judging them for being who they are. People are going to people. They're going to be who they are. And it's very important for you all to know that not everybody is on the same level. So when people come into your life and they act up and they act out and they do bizarre things like this, as painful as it is to go through, you kind of have to take a step back from the situation and look at it through God's eyes. If you look at it through your eyes, you're going to stay mad. You're going to be wanting to fight people. You're going to want to be on your own version of a reality show, because nobody likes to be hurt. No. Like, I don't like to be hurt. I want to fight some people sometimes, but you can't fight everybody, you know? And so sometimes it's better to just take a step back, feel the feelings, acknowledge them, and then give it all to God and allow him to kind of take you through the exercise of working out the fat, trimming the fat.
I promise you will feel so much lighter.
Yes.
So much.
Because what is life like now? Now that you have been through the process, what have you been experiencing here recently?
I'm happy. Things are going great.
Right.
Got a new job.
We're
good.
Right. And then there's like a whole other new friend group. Right. So it's like, we're not saying out with the old, in with the new. That's not what we're saying. But when people leave your life, sometimes it's making room for the right. I couldn't have said it better. So I hope that our little talk today has encouraged you. I hope that you feel empowered to know that life is hard. Life is rough. And sometimes we're not always going to get it right. We're not always going to be. And listen, if you're the friend, before we go, if you're the friend that we're talking about, not hers, but in general, if you see yourself in the type of friend that we were talking about, have the uncomfortable conversation. Don't leave people on red. Don't ghost people. That's not how you handle things. I know it's going to be uncomfortable to say how you feel. Maybe you don't have the right words. Maybe you want to say something, but you don't know how to say it. Say it. Say it, because if that person is truly your friend, they will sit with you through the discomfort of you trying to find your words to say it. And it's possible that it could be resolved, because I do believe this could have been resolved with an honest, sincere conversation. The problem is both parties have to be present and willing and ready to take accountability for their actions. And so it can't be a one-sided thing. So if you happen to be the friend that is like, you know that you've ghosted your friends, you know that you need to have that uncomfortable conversation, there is no shame in saying, I do want to talk to you. I don't have the words. I don't know how to explain. Just take your time and say, get it off your chest. Say what it is that you need to say, because if they value you as a friend and as a person, they'll be willing to hear you out. They will be willing to listen to and give ear. But you have to be ready and willing to take accountability for your actions. And the way that you do that is that if you're wrong, you say that you're wrong and you apologize for being wrong. And if you're on the other side of that apology, you receive it with grace and love and mercy, and you extend that olive branch. And, mark your boundaries now. Make sure you understand that you got to, create some boundaries around that friendship for sure, so that it doesn't happen again. But whenever people come in earnest and sincere apology, the best thing to do is to accept it sincerely and try to move forward with that person. So with that, I think that's all I got to say.
I think that's
You got
it.
anything else you need to say? You want to tell the people?
No.
So that is what we have for you tonight. I hope that you enjoyed our talk on keeping inventory with the heart. You know what I'm going to tell you. You know what I'm going to tell you. You are loved. I love you, and God loves you more. Thank you so much for tuning in. Click that subscribe button, send me an email, leave me a comment, get in the comment section. Let's talk about this. What has been your experience with friendships and keeping inventory of your heart? What are some helpful tips that you can leave down in the comment that you have used on your journey? We want to know. We want to hear from you. And until the next one, bye.